Hello beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all okay. Today's video is a really important video actually that every single woman needs to know, and this is all about training on your period and birth control. Like, I'm not going to go too much into the birth control side of things. I'm just going to share my personal opinion with things that I've tried in the past, what I had to do when I was a competitive athlete, so when I was a swimmer, and changing to what I'm on now. The menstrual cycle is a series of complex hormonal changes, including your hippocampus, I don't know how you say that properly, pituitary glands, and your ovaries. So these organs are absolutely crucial in terms of your body development and regulation. For example, your reproductive system and your immune system support. A normal menstrual cycle can be anywhere between 28 to, I would say, 35 days. Obviously, the days differ for every single person when you actually bleed. They differ from month to month, and I would always recommend every single person to track their menstrual cycle. So there's so many apps, I'll pop a few on the screen for you, that you can use to track your menstrual cycle. Like I said, it's super easy to do, and these apps are readily available for you. Now, before I go into the two phases of your menstrual cycle that I'm going to talk to you about today, so your follicular phase and then your luteal phase, and how you should train around those, and maybe why in certain phases you feel better or worse, or food cravings, X, Y, and Z, I just quickly wanted to speak to you about my experience with birth control. Background. I used to be a full-time competitive swimmer, so I didn't start using birth control until I was 18, and when I was a swimmer we were told by British Swimming X, Y, and Z what we should and shouldn't be on. I'm not really sure I agree with that now. It makes me feel a little bit weird being told like what to do about what hormones you're putting in your body and what birth control they thought you should be on. As you may know, there are side effects to every single birth control, and they're different for every single person as well. So what I might have experienced, you might not experience at all. So this is personal experience, like I'm saying to you again. You don't need to base everything. This is just what I want to say to you. Now, when I was 18, I had the Marina coil fitted, which is like this shape thing. And I had this done because basically the guys at swimming, coaches and everything, was that don't go on the pill because it's the side effects of weight gain. Obviously, when I was in swimming, they were very anal about like weight gain and nutrition, and that's why I had such messed up eating back then. So anyway, long story short, I had the Marina coil fitted when I was 18. That is pretty young to get it fitted in the first place. You usually have the coil once you've had children. It was very painful. I then was in excruciating pain for about 2 weeks after having it fitted, I remember, because I was trying to train in the pool and I just couldn't train. And then, unfortunately, I bled for around 4 to 5 months continuously, which was draining and it was horrible. But I stuck it out, and then I had that for about 2 years. I then had it taken out because I was under investigation with my womb and my bowel. I'll pop up on the screen that video if you want to watch it. And I had a laparoscopy, which is like a little incision into your belly button just to see what's going on. So I had the coil taken out before that to see if there was going to be any change to take away from the pain, and it wasn't. But I'm super happy that I did have that coil taken out. I personally didn't notice any effects in terms of weight gain and things like that, but I think that's because I train so much and I'm really good with my nutrition that I just didn't notice any weight gain or anything that happened to my skin either. So I guess the only side effects was the first 4 months were horrendous, and then I actually lost my period. When I had it taken out, I straight away went on to the Depo-Provera injection. Now, this is an injection you get in your butt cheek every 3 months. I have had no issues. I mean, I don't bleed as much, and it's something that I do want to look into and potentially come off birth control altogether. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm just not that comfortable with not having a standard menstrual cycle because you have spotting. It's different for every person, like I said, but I haven't really had a period, which kind of bugs me a little bit. Again, no side effects of weight gain, skin, or anything like that. I don't know if I've been lucky in that sense. I don't know. This is just how I felt with it. And I've had no effect on my mood, really, I wouldn't say, or my emotions. I have anxiety anyway, so that's completely separate. And I will go into the different phase of the menstrual cycle when sometimes you might feel a little bit more emotional because your hormones are changing anyway. But for me personally, that isn't to do with the depot. One thing that I do want to mention, this is something that I am very aware of, is having the Depo-Provera jab increases the risk of osteoporosis. So this is your bone health and having brittle bones in the future. I won't probably be on the depot for more than 3 years. It's been 1.5 years, 2 years now, but I will come off it. I think I'm going to change to the pill, but that is something that I want you to obviously know. Go away and do your own research and obviously speak to your GP if you aren't happy with your own birth control and things like that, or you want a period, or you want to come off altogether. You do you. That was just my experience. So let's dive in to the menstrual cycle. Okay, so let's base this on 4 weeks. Your first 2 weeks are classed as the follicular phase, and then day 14, day 13, 16, depending on the length, is ovulation, when the egg is released, and then you have 2 weeks, which is the luteal phase. Now, during the follicular phase, the first 2 weeks, this is when the hormone estrogen is at its highest. Estrogen has a positive effect on your mood, on your energy, and on your strength. So if you look at it that way, this is the time where you'll more than likely make more gains and be able to lift more weights and go a bit harder, do some high intensity training in the gym, i.e. your focus should be on traditional strength / hypertrophy training to get the best out of those to get the best out of the follicular phase in general. Now, what I've noticed, and this is backed by science as well, when you hit around day 13, 14, that is when you get a little boost of testosterone as well. So this is where you will be at your strongest, basically halfway through your cycle. Now, another thing to note is because of this boost in estrogen, so because you have more estrogen in your body, you can recover much better than you will be able to in the luteal phase. So these first 2 weeks, like I said to you, go a little bit harder, lift a little bit heavier, push yourself that little bit more, and just see how you get on. Boom. As soon as we hit day 14, I'm going to say day 14 because that's the middle of the month. We say it's 28 cycle, there or thereabouts. Day 14, ovulation, egg is released and waits to be fertilized. Don't know why he's waiting up here. He, she, chilling, okay. Now, this is the luteal phase. The next 2 weeks are your luteal phase. So initially, there is a dip in your estrogen, and then it rises again, and then also your hormone called progesterone increases. Now, if you are in tune with your body, you might notice a slight difference after ovulation has occurred. So, are there mood changes? Are there emotional changes? Is your ability to recover from training compromised a little bit? So these are things that I have started to notice myself since I really started to track my menstrual cycle, so I could see and understand the reasons why I was fatigued more, I wasn't recovering as much as I was in the previous week and things like that. So
we are now exercising before, and I am absolutely, that's why my channel. I'm really fatigued, and I think it is due to being on my period. I can't be 100% sure, but obviously this, I kind of want to be really transparent with you, being like, not every single session you're going to be like massively hyped and it will hit you like a ton of bricks, and then when you exert so much energy at the start, you are going to feel a bit fatigued. So I've dropped the weight for the last 2 exercises, goblet squats and leg extensions
and things like that. So it's really important for you just to understand the basics. This is what this video is. It's the basics behind your menstrual cycle. Now, as you near the start of your period, so people bleed differently. You could be, I don't know, 3 days, 1 day, 6 days. Obviously, that's the first couple of days of the follicular phase. But as you're nearing this on in the last 2 weeks, some people experience PMS, which is premenstrual symptoms. A lot of women do suffer from PMS. Now, normal PMS, so this is what I've researched in terms of what is classed as normal, slight body discomfort and emotional shifts in how you're feeling. But if you have severe cramps, you have really tender and sore breasts, and you have to like miss work and things because you're in that much pain, that is where it is recommended to see your GP just for further investigation. Again, not an expert, that is just what a lot of the research that I have read says to do. And obviously it does make sense if you're in crippling pain and you have to miss work because you can't cope with it, you would naturally go and see a doctor or professional. Now, during the luteal phase, it is so important for you to match your training to your mood and your body and how you're feeling. So you have to listen to yourself. I tend to reduce the load a little bit, and sometimes I shift to more of a moderate weight being lifted, and even kind of changing up my style of training. So I might do some jogging instead of like a ridiculous intense leg session. I just try and change as and when I'm feeling, but sometimes I feel absolutely fine. I could be day 25, for example, so the last week before I'm on my period again, and I feel fine. So it is different and it does vary, but it's just something to keep a note of and be aware of. There's no reason why you can't continue to make gains during the luteal phase. I'm not saying that. You obviously just might have a shift in energy, a shift in fatigue, recoverability, made up a word, and obviously your food cravings. So in this last week as well, so PMS, before you start your period, you're more likely to have cravings of food, which I feel like most women do experience. Me, hello, I literally could eat everything in sight sometimes. But what you do need to be careful of, so the few days before you bleed, so you start everything all over again in the follicular phase, those last couple of days in PMS, you just need to be a little bit more careful, because what can happen when you have cramps and you have bloating, even though you've reduced the load, obviously your core isn't going to be as strong as it usually is. Take off the bloating and take off the cramps, it would obviously feel a lot better. Now, this leaves you slightly more vulnerable to injury if the weights you're lifting are too heavy, just because this core of yours might not be switched on as much as it should be. So that's just something to note in the last few days before you bleed again. Now, the transition phase is from your first day of bleeding to the end of menstruation, and then you go through your 4-week cycle again. Now, this video is to explain to you how you as a woman need to respect and honour your body as a woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to understand that this is going to happen. So what can you do to put in place to benefit from it, and actually look at your emotions, look at your mood, your fatigue, your food. Oh, why do I feel like this? Oh, it's day 28. Da, da, da. So I just think it's a really, really clever thing for you to do. Like I said, those apps before are great. I have one called Flow, but you should be the person who determines what you are capable of during this time. I do it with all of my clients. I know their whole menstrual cycle, so I can suit their training around them. And if you have a personal trainer, they should also know that about you as well, because they might be getting you to squat a 1 rep max in week 4 the luteal phase, and you're thinking, nah, that's not gonna happen. Whew, really enjoyed this video. It's been one that I've been meaning to do for ages, and I hope you found it helpful. Please give it a big thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to my channel for more videos, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.